Okay. You want me to jump right into racing?
No, 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 just a minute.
It's like going through turbulence again.
Right. Good evening and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight, who we haven't seen in quite some time, is Aguna, the voice of reason. Folks are glad to see him back. Stephen, the independent thinker. Keith, the constitutional conservative when he comes back. And last but not least, with some special flowers behind him, my cousin Todd.
Nice.
We've got a packed show for you tonight. Unfortunately, more than 100 people have lost their lives in the Texas floods. Our thoughts and prayers go out to them. Stephen and NASCAR, he'll talk about that Chicago street race. The big, beautiful bill has been passed and signed into law by President Trump. Russian President Putin rebuffs Trump's call and vows to press on with the Ukraine war. Security experts warn recent U.S. weapons pause could embolden Kremlin's war ambitions. Tennis and Todd, as he talks about Wimbledon 2025. Elon Musk launches his political party called America Party. Right after President Trump signs into law the big, beautiful bill, the Tesla mogul's new political movement came right after the signature. A Texas police officer was shot near the ICE detention center as Trump officials promise zero tolerance. Today, the Supreme Court backs Trump's effort to dramatically reshape federal government for now, as the Senate is set to hear or make a vote on President Trump's nominee for the Centers for Disease Control. That and more, if we can fit it in. First up, okay, Stephen. First up, NASCAR with Stephen. Stephen, I know you want to talk about Chicago. After you do, I will bring the video up.
That's great. It's Chicago road course, an actual real road course where they're actually on the streets. They set up barriers. It takes like 80 semis to bring all these barriers in, at least 80. It's a huge production. And I know it's probably hard on the people in Chicago to have this race go, about 3 hours or so. And it's hard on, but it is beautiful to watch. The skyline is awesome. You can see a lot of Chicago right in the city. It's really awesome. And the racing is awesome. The racing is unbelievable. Sometimes they're in little corridors where you can only get a 3-car wide. And there are little spots where you turn a corner and the spotters can't see the drivers. There was a guy that wrecked. There's a few other guys that just crashed into it. It's just like being on the highway or whatever. It was a great, great race. And I'm sorry we weren't here last week, because I would have told you Shane Van Gisbergen is a phenom on road courses. And he had just won the Saturday race, the Xfinity race. And he's won Chicago before. It was his first race he won. He's amazing here. He does stuff with the car. He whips the car around like I've never seen anybody do on a road course. That's just what he specializes in. He's not as great at the other races, though he does the full season. He is awesome here. He's a great, great, great racer. And I'm sorry I won't hear, because I was said to pick him. And I also had Riddick in the 45. I had Gibbs in the 54. I had both of them finishing in the top 3. So I had the winner, and I had both guys finish the top 3, and they did. But I had Gibbs for money too to win, but that was in a different bet. So that didn't matter. But it was a good weekend, great weekend. And plus, it's off of Prime now. I don't have to watch it on Prime this week. It was on TNT, which means I can pause it. I can rewind it. I can fast forward it. I can do whatever I want to do. It's awesome. That's the way we want to watch a race. That's the only way I watch a race. I had to go with 10 laps to go. I had an emergency. I had to get out of here. I could pause the race. I could tape the race. I could do whatever I wanted. So that was great. And that's the way it ought to be. And the road course is the way to go. I think that the rumor is they're not going to have it next year. They're going to go back to the round track here, and I hope they don't, because this is one of the best road courses we have. Next week is Sonoma. It's going to be basically about the same guys are going to do just as well. But this is, to me, is what racing is all about. I think it's great, and these cars are made for it. And it was an absolutely wonderful race. If you can go back and watch it, I would recommend it 100%. This was a great race.
Okay, so let's see what the mayor Brandon Johnson said about the future of the street racing in Chicago.
One thing that I can say, with the city of Chicago, we're a gift to America. We're able to hold large-scale events, particularly large sporting events, and really appreciative of how the city has come together over these 3 years, be able to put on a display that is unique to anywhere else in the world.
Well, this past weekend was the third and final race contract between NASCAR and the city. NASCAR has 90 days now to request a contract extension with the Chicago Park District. We'll keep you posted.
Oh, Stacy, can I say one more thing about the race real quick? At the end, there was 2 laps left. I forgot, I left this part out. Cody Ware, the number 35, crashes his car. But then when the guys are coming around, you got all those turns. When they come around, they're going to have to throw a caution or they're not going to be able to get by him. They have to throw a caution. So instead of doing it with 2 laps to go, which when he wrecked, they should have called the caution because they knew they were going to have to. They didn't. If you stop it then you have to restart. And that gives the other guys a chance to win. But once you get past the white flag, once you get to the 1 lap left, no laps left. That's what he did. After the white flag, there's no laps left. Go ahead into the checker flag. The race is over. It took all the drama out of it. And usually NASCAR doesn't want to do this, but I'm calling shenanigans on that. And that's the only thing that was negative about this race was they should have called the caution so they could have restarted the race. And that's the way they're supposed to do it. They didn't do it. And that's a pretty big controversy. And I think they fixed it for the next race. They made a new rule out of it saying you can't do that. It looks really suspicious. A lot of people upset that maybe they wanted SVG, what they call him, Shane Van Gisbergen, that maybe they wanted him to win. I don't know, because just really quick, he was plus 200, which means you don't make a lot of money if you bet on him. The next guy was like plus 850. The next guy was like plus 950. But you see the disparaging between all of them. Shane, if he wins, you're not going to win that much money. If you put money on the other ones, you're going to make a lot more money. It looks funky. Everything comes down to gambling sometimes, but that's why it looks funny. They can't do that anymore. If you got a caution that you're going to call anyway, don't wait till it's too late to call the caution and the race is over. That's all I'm saying. And that's the side I'm on. There's people on the other side, and there's other ways to look at it, but it looks kind of funky to me, just a little bit. Okay. But it keeps it exciting.
All right. So let me share this screen, which I find very interesting. They've got going on with NASCAR, the street race. They're calling it Electric Vehicle Showcase.
A high-speed, all-electric Challenger has entered the race.
No engine in this car. It is 3 electric motors in it and 1,360 horsepower. That's an impressive machine.
NASCAR, along with electrical engineering company ABB, Chevrolet, and Ford, unveiling a first-of-its-kind electric vehicle showcase to fans at the Chicago street race. The 3 supercharged prototypes taking on the track: a Ford Mustang Mach-E NASCAR EV, an ABB NASCAR EV, and a Chevy Blazer EVR NASCAR prototype. ABB's Chris Shigas says the company's working closely with NASCAR to look at energy-efficient solutions.
We're looking at NASCAR tracks across the nation and seeing how can we help them run more sustainably and energy efficient.
It felt pretty much like a normal race car with the weight and everything for the most part.
We caught up with NASCAR driver Raja Karuth, who spent time behind the wheel of the Chevy Blazer EVR. Karuth says the EV is handled just a bit differently than the traditional gas-powered race cars, but when it comes to the acceleration,
it's literally like Mario Kart, getting the star, the bullet boost, or putting a rocket on top of the wing. That's pretty much how I describe it.
The screech of these high-powered EVs reverberates throughout the park, taking on tight turns and open straightaways, with the picturesque Chicago skyline setting the stage. I even had the chance to wave the checkered flag at the end of the run, something I never knew I needed to do until now.
This is 2 years in the process, just from getting the car out on the track for the first time to where we are today.
NASCAR engineer CJ Tobin says he's pumped about the future of racing technology.
We're excited about the technology. We want to see what we can do as an organization with a different powertrain. We want to be in the driver's seat, knowing where we're going, not in the passenger seat, looking back and being like, oh, okay, where are we now?
All right. That's pretty interesting, Stephen.
It is. It's very interesting. They have electric, a Formula One cars or whatever. They have electric something like that. But I would watch it. I'd be interested in it. They get it right. The only thing I'd be concerned about is a terrible accident with all the batteries in the car, and if it catch on fire and they flip over. I don't know. That's the only thing I'd be worried about. If they can make sure it's safe for the drivers, and it's cool, because these cars can absolutely fly. They are amazing cars. The electric cars are, and a lot of people get unaffected, or a little bit too affected by the race because the fumes are amazing. Have you ever been to a race? The fumes will overtake you. So a lot of people get, I'm a little bit tired of this. And they would I have friends of mine that say, let's go as high as we can when we see the race, because the fumes are a little bit too much. You have all them cars and it comes right up in your lungs. Right. So that's another thing too. A lot of people would direct close people to me that would go to the electric race. So I don't have any problem with it. They can just make it safe for the drivers. I'm cool with it.
Okay. Thank you. Tennis and Todd, and as Aguna would say, Serena and Wimbledon, cousin Todd. Do you want to talk about what's going on? Then I'll play a little video.
Or you can play a video and I can talk about it. But
okay, let me play the video.
Okay.
I'll play the video because she is not Serena, but pretty close.
Good evening. Welcome to the press conference for Coco Gauff. Please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. Coco, tough loss for you. Just give us your thoughts right now.
Yeah, obviously disappointed how the result went today. Diana started off playing strong, and yeah, I think I just couldn't find my footing out there today.
Matt.
Hey, Coco. Tough luck. How much of this do you chalk up to, grass being not the greatest environment for you, and how much to just it's been a hell of a few weeks since Paris?
I think a little bit of both. I think, I don't know, I felt like mentally I was a little bit overwhelmed with everything that came afterwards. So I didn't feel like I had that enough time to do, I guess, celebrate and then also get back into it. But, it's the first time of this experience of coming off a win and having to play Wimbledon. And I definitely learned a lot of what I would and would not do again. But yeah, also she played great. I saw the draw and knew it would be a tough match for me. And I think obviously I played her on clay, and I think that surface suits me a little bit better, and it's still a tough 3-setter. So yeah, I knew today would be tough, and I had chances, but yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, cousin Todd.
Yeah, that was rough. Playing on grass is not easy. You don't think about that, but have you ever played any kind of sport on grass?
It is tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
I play tennis on grass, and it is a lot harder. But I'm not a pro.
As opposed to clay or cement or that sort of thing. Anyway, so she was out in the first round, which was devastating. And so
devastating for who? Serena, for you, for whom exactly?
Ma'am, for all Black people all around the world.
Was it devastating for you, Aguna? He said it was devastating for all Black people. Was it devastating for you?
Yeah, I felt it. I felt it in my soul.
Now, moving on, white girl.
I like hot cocoa better. I like hot cocoa better than cold cocoa.
What does that mean in English?
Well, I like it when she's playing good, she's hot cocoa. When she plays bad, she's cold. She's cold cocoa. By the time it got cold, it ain't no good. Who wants to drink cold cocoa?
Oh, well, what do you think about
Donald Do you want Trump? It in Japanese this time?
Do you like Donald Trump hot or cold?
Uh-oh.
No.
Anyway, so the other girl is Sabalenka. She's the number one girl in the world now, and I think she's going to win this U.S. Open. There's another girl, Satek. I don't know her, but she's good too. I think she's number 3. So for the women, it'll probably be Sabalenka. For the men, Taylor Fritz, he's an American. Alcaraz, who I like, who is a combination of Nadal and Federer. He plays like them.
And Alcaraz is from Spain, correct?
Correct. And then Djokovic is still in there. Ugh. And another American, Blake Sheldon. And he's what Cher would call a half-breed. You know, half-breeds are taking over sports nowadays. You ever notice that?
That is very racist and very ignorant to say.
Oh.
And you sound racist saying something like that. And I'm very, I got to call you out like I would call anyone else out.
Oh, you sound so dumb. The truth will set you free. Anyway, does anybody notice these athletes? What happens is these black
Anyway, we're going to move
athletes,
on.
I'm going to make my statement whether Donald Trump likes it or not. Now, what happens is these black athletes graduate. And what I mean by that is they get a white girl. So they've graduated. And of course, she takes him because he's got a couple of bucks. And then they get married, some of them, or some of them just get pregnant. And like Stephen, for example, he got himself knocked up and he doesn't know who the father is either. But nevertheless, so yeah, then they have these children and these children go into sports. And if you ever notice now, there's a lot of half-breed players out. Now, some people get offended by the term half-breed. I don't. I think it's...
I'm offended.
Well, are you offended that Cher came up with the song called Half-Breed?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, now you know.
It was like 1972 or something.
I don't know. I just heard it.
You've never heard Half Breed?
No,
I used to watch her
old
variety
enough.
show with Sonny and Cher show.
Well,
We
you're
got a
much
comment
older
from
than.
Aguna.
Excuse me, we're much old. You're much older than we are. Now, what is Aguna's comment?
You see it on the screen. It
I
says
can't see.
Todd on here looking like Antonio Fargas, aka Huggy Bear.
You're so ignorant.
You know who that is, Todd?
No, ma'am. No, I do
You never
not.
watched Starsky and Hutch from back
I'm
in
much
the
too young for that.
It was a he was a pimp.
Yeah, he was a pimp that he used to be a foreman. He
What?
used to have a butterfly collar. He used to tell them all, where all the bad guys were.
This is not a butterfly.
That's not a butterfly collar?
No, it's
okay,
not
my
that
bad.
big. It's
You need a bobby pin to kind of cover up that taco meat side.
I
There's a
didn't know
shortage.
taco meat, and I shaved. But anyway, that's what is happening in sports nowadays.
This
And
is who he's talking about.
Aguna is so rotten. It's a shame.
It looks just like you, Todd.
He doesn't.
It does.
I know.
What about this one?
All you need is a beard.
I
Hey,
know.
man.
He's nice, but he doesn't look like me. But I like him. Anyway, so that's all for sports. I don't. I
That's
hope
all for tennis. You don't
that's
know
all
what
for
Aguna may
sport.
have for
I don't.
sports.
Aguna has nothing. Aguna has not been here, so he's on. He's taking a sabbatical.
Aguna, what do you have for sports? I'm not paying Todd.
Well,
no
two
mind.
things. One, Mexico beat the U.S. in the Gold Cup, which we were hoping that the U.S. would do something this year, but they beat them down in Houston 2-1. The U.S. took an early lead. They scored like 4 minutes into the game, and then Mexico just came back. And there was a controversial handball that should have been called, but we didn't end up getting it. So, oh well, onto the World Cup. Again, this is the part of the year that's very boring because the NBA Finals is over with. It's not even past the home run derby of the MLB All Stars, so we got nothing. We're waiting for training camp, so we got about a month before the first preseason game, and 60 days before the Eagles go off and start defending their title defense. So I'm looking forward to football and getting back in the swing of things. It's been a quiet off season, very quiet for the Eagles, which is a good thing. So we'll see what happens. We played Dallas the first game of the year, so I'll be ready for that. And I don't know, the Commanders, they still haven't signed McLaren. They're talking about maybe trading them. I think that would be devastating. I think they need both Debo and McLaren as wide receivers on the Commanders in order to make a run. And of course, Dallas is starting to hear chirps from the Cowboy fans thinking that they're going to do something this year. But when we spank them that opening day, I'm not going to hear anything from them. So yeah, looking forward to football. Hype on that. Go Birds.
Okay, before there's football, there is Major League Baseball going on now.
Yes. And the Phillies are actually doing pretty
Here's
good.
another difference.
I mean, the Phillies are on top. Last time I checked, they were on a couple games on the Mets. So, hey, we'll see what happens. I think they're I don't really follow baseball till after the All-Star break.
Oh boy!
So
But
it's too long of a season.
I can clue you in on who they're playing because you obviously don't know.
They're playing the Reds the last time I checked. But go ahead, Todd.
No.
The Miami Dolphins.
They're not playing Miami Dolphins. Are you crazy? That's a hockey team, dummy. Anyway, the Phillies are playing the Devils, and they are losing. The Devils are winning.
Devils always win.
Not
Okay, now that is it for sports. We'll stop sports right there. Thank you. And let me present my screen, and let's move on to this.
Watch, we're taking a closer look at President Trump's so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act, now signed into law. So we're asking who's going to win and who's going to come out losing. And who better to break it down than our senior CBS News analyst, Jill Schlesinger. No one better. Jill, great to see you.
Good to be with you.
All right. So walk us through the top lines here of what we should know.
So the biggest part of this bill is the extension of the first Trump administration's tax reform. And those tax cuts from 2017 were set to expire at the end of this year. Those tax cuts are now all extended, but that's an expensive thing. So in order to pay for a big chunk of that, there are big cuts to Medicaid and the SNAP, or the former food stamp plan. And that's partially how the bill is paid for. To be clear, the bill is not paid for. It will add a bunch of money to the debt and deficit over time. But
a bunch of money.
The overarching
That's
piece.
dumb.
One of the intriguing ways in which more money is being spent is this notion of $1,000 kind of baby. What is it? If a baby is born over the next 3 years, they get $1,000 in an account, courtesy of the U.S. government, and then it grows.
Yeah, so this is a twist on something that has been put into place in pilot programs in certain states called baby bonds. So we put some money into an account. They're calling them Trump accounts. And in this case, it's $1,000 per child who is born between 2025 through 2028. So if you're doing your family planning, now would be the time to figure this out. Now, the $1,000 goes into a low-cost index fund. The money grows until the kid gets to be age 18. At age 18, half of the money can be spent on maybe a first-time home, a certificate program, school. The other half can be taken out at age 25. Importantly, two important facts here. This is not a paid-for piece of the bill, meaning that it costs, $17, $18 billion. We're sort of coming out of thin air. The other part of it is if you are saving for education, it is actually better. I know you take the $1,000, but instead of putting more money into this, I would use a 529 plan because this does not have the good tax treatment that the 529 plan will have.
A lot of CEOs coming out in favor, by the way, of those baby bonds. It's interesting to see people raising their hand in support.
Shockingly, they come from investment management firms who would profit from those funds. But okay, just saying.
To the CEO of Uber, also in favor of this. Yeah. But I want to know.
Okay. We can talk about that. Let me share this screen, and then I'm going to have us talk about the big, beautiful bill.
Now considering President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. The legislation passed a key procedural hurdle late on Saturday night.
The yeas are 51, the nays are 49. The motion is agreed to.
It's a 940-page piece of tax and spending legislation that came out Friday. And now they're trying to go through this process of making some final changes, some final amendments. As the Senate Republicans are trying to figure this out, they're dealing with the splits in their own group over things like Medicaid, clean energy tax credits, deficits, and in some cases on taxes. This bill helps business owners. This bill helps taxpayers broadly. About 2% of taxpayers would get a tax increase if the tax cuts expire. So this extends those and adds some new tax cuts on top of it. If you really care a lot about border security and national defense, there's lots of money here that they're funding.
The goals in this bill are a safer America, a stronger America, and a more prosperous America.
In terms of who gets hurt, people who are on Medicaid, there's new Medicaid work requirements. There's going to be limits on some funding. There's people who are concerned about rural hospitals and their funding, nutrition assistance programs, what we call SNAP, that also has some cuts in here. And then obviously clean energy as well. Like if you're in the wind and solar energy industry or manufacturing components or those kinds of things, those industries are really taking a hit from this legislation. When the bill is at this slim a majority, everybody is a key vote. You've got moderates like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins who are concerned about the bill. You've got two Republicans, Rand Paul and Tom Tillis, who are opposed to the bill.
That is an admission that they know they aren't controlling the deficit. They know that the ensuing years will add trillions more. That doesn't sound at all conservative to me, and that's why I'm a no.
You've got conservative Republicans, Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, and Mike Lee, who are want deeper spending cuts. So they're trying to find the right mix of policies that can get 50 votes out of the 53 Republicans. You get Vice President Vance to come break the tie, and then it will pass. And so finding that balance has really taken them a while to do. The bill has not actually been passed at this point. So this procedural vote was basically the question of, should the Senate debate this bill? Once they debate the bill, then the Senate will consider amendments. This is a chance for Democrats who oppose.
Okay, I'm going to stop there because we know that they passed the bill. But let's see what the governor, my governor, and the governor of the NFL World Champions for 2025 Eagles, what their governor had to say about this bill. And then we'll talk about it.
Governor, the federal reconciliation bill is projected to really decimate rural hospitals and perhaps even nursing homes. Can you talk about what you see the Commonwealth being able to do to stave off just a decimation, further decimation?
Let me make sure we level and everybody knows the effect of the law that the president just signed a couple days ago, that every single Republican member of the House, with the exception of Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick and our Republican U.S. Senator, voted for, knowing what they were voting for. 310,000 Pennsylvanians are going to be kicked off of Medicaid. 140,000 Pennsylvanians are about to lose their SNAP benefits. That's the food assistance benefits. And we have about 25 rural hospitals that are both working with an operating deficit, where about 50% or more of their revenues are coming from public payer, right? Coming from Medicaid. And so if you're already facing a deficit and your Medicaid is being slashed, we estimate that there's about 25 rural hospitals that are likely to shutter in the next few years because of this. Here in York County, just to put a finer point on it, 9,762 York Countyans are about to lose their Medicaid because of this vote, and about $11 million is going to be ripped away from SNAP just here in York County. So I want you to know what they voted for, okay? They voted to give a tax cut to those at the highest income brackets who frankly don't need it, and to pay for it by slashing Medicaid and SNAP and harming rural hospitals. This isn't politics. This isn't hyperbole. They knew what they were voting for. They voted for it. It's now law in Pennsylvania. As to the second part of your question, let me be very clear. Pennsylvania can't backfill this. We don't have the money to do it. I warned these members of Congress that we couldn't do it. And so the cuts that are about to come are coming as a direct result of how your federal representatives voted here. We can't fix this for them.
All right, let's stop there. So I do want to, stop sharing, and I want to ask specifically Stephen and Keith first. What are they working on to help those federal representatives, senators, and House of Representative members? What are they working on to help the people who are going to lose the benefits that the Pennsylvania governor just said? What are they going to give them to pick up the slack so they can have health care?
What is who going to give to who? What is the federal government going to give to them? What is the state government going to give? What are you saying?
What is the
Wait, let me
government?
finish. I can answer it.
The
What
federal.
the House of Representative members, congressional
Mhm.
members that were Republican that voted for this bill because they're in the majority, and the senators from Pennsylvania who voted for this because the Republican senators in the United States are in the majority and they passed this bill.
I see what you're saying.
What
It's a
plan?
pointed question. Okay.
A pointed question.
Wait.
It's a little bit pointed.
Stop. Just listen. Just in York County, 9,700 people will lose their Medicaid.
Mhm.
What do the Republicans have in place for these people to have health care once they lose their Medicaid? That's my question.
I'm not sure, but what they're doing is they're cutting the fat. They're cutting the garbage. They're taking the people
What
off
does
of
that
this.
mean?
They're taking the people off this who don't belong on it. They be on they're illegals in this country, or they don't physically fit the prerequisite. All of that. That's what happens. That's why that's what they're doing. Everything about this administration is trying to save the American taxpayer money. Why are we going to have all of this theft of our money to go into people who don't deserve our money? Like, if you're illegal, you don't deserve to be on Medicaid or Medicare or anything. You don't deserve any of our benefits. You don't deserve nothing. This is for the American people. And if we don't do something about all of these projects, programs, things we have to help the American people, then it's not going to be there anymore for the American people.
Okay, thank you. Stop right there. So I'm going to
Thank
play
you.
this again, and I'm going to ask the question again.
Oh, sorry.
Pennsylvania, aid and SNAP, and harming rural hospitals. So I want you to know what they voted for, okay? They voted to give a tax cut to those at the highest income brackets who frankly don't need it, and to pay for it by slashing Medicaid and SNAP and harming rural hospitals. This isn't politics. This isn't hyperbole. They were voting for it. They voted for it. It's now law in Pennsylvania. As to the second part of your question, let me be very clear. Pennsylvania can't backfill this. We don't have the money to do it. I warned these members of Congress that we couldn't do it. And so the cuts that are about to come are coming as a direct result of how your federal representatives voted here. We can't fix this for them.
Okay, let me stop.
It's funny, Stacey, that he says people that need tax cuts, they don't need tax cuts. He's determining that people don't need tax cuts. Who is he? The people that are working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, they need tax cuts. You know what? I don't want to pay taxes at all. Aguna doesn't want to pay taxes. We're paying way too much in taxes, taking care of people who won't get off their fat butt or illegal butt and do things their own. There's nothing that the government needs to do for these people who don't do for themselves. So if you're lazy and you're not going to work, you're not going to sit there and collect all of my money. It's not happening anymore. This administration is not going to let it happen. And once y'all get that through your head, then you're going to be cool with everything, because this is everything they do is to save the pretty much
Stop
a
right
middle
there.
America.
Okay, thank you. Keith, are
thank
you
you.
available to answer? Keith?
Okay, don't keep calling him. That's
Okay. All right. Aguna.
Yeah, so it's funny because the governor he says it's not politics, but then he talks political, right? So
right.
I mean, if he wants to do something about it, he can. He's just not going to, because what he'll have to do is at the state level raise taxes, generate revenue. He doesn't want to do that, right? So it's not. So here's the thing, and this is where most people. This goes to my fiscal conservative side.
How can he raise taxes when food prices are through the roof?
What are you talking about? He's talking about funding for Medicare. The state can generate revenue too. The state can Medicaid. So the state, this is being funded at the federal level. They can fund it at the state level, and they can make At the end of the day, you can choose
How?
what state you can live in. They can
Yeah,
raise
but
taxes. They can figure out there's certain
raise
things they can do
taxes.
at the state level, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that means everybody in Pennsylvania is going to pay more in taxes.
well, that's the interesting part about all this. But basically, you're seeing a moving the government, shrinking of government, which is saying that the federal government is not going to levy taxes, but the state level, the state government can if they choose to. So if they want to save these hospitals, technically they can fund it themselves and try to come up with ways at the state level, which would actually empower the people in Pennsylvania to make more strategic decisions about. So you're localizing government now versus having the federal government and be the arbitrator of everything. If you think
States
about
don't
it,
have enough money to do that.
why is that?
What do you mean, why?
Why
States,
is that?
because
So
just
because
because
they're
one
used to the
state,
federal government. They're used to the federal government footing the bill. Now, I'm not saying that it's a good thing because
other
you're
than
going to
that,
see a
you'll
lot
be
of states.
taxed out of your own house.
Well, and then you move, right? This is
Oh,
going to
and then
impact
you
other
move.
taxes. I mean, this is the
Okay, you sound
localization of government.
ridiculous.
Can you
No, I'm
move?
not.
This is
It's
how.
because I don't like paying federal taxes. I mean, no one
Right.
likes paying federal taxes. And so the question is, what the governor's not saying is, why are they on Medicaid to begin with? And
That's
if
a
you
good
think about
question.
the way the bill is designed, again, this is going back to the days of trickle down economics, which a lot of economists don't like. But if you
Okay.
look at some of the incentives that are in there, they're saying that, hey, you know what? You're creating these Trump accounts, which are kind of incentivizing people to invest in the market. They're trying to incentivize people to to buy based on the government to inject all this money in the market and not rely on the federal government, but incentivize. It's almost a way of incentivizing prosperity.
I
Will it
don't
work?
understand what you're saying. You said, why are people on Medicare to begin with? That's what
Yeah,
I'm still grappling
that's
with.
the one. That's the one.
Medicaid.
I said that.
You
Let
just said
him
All right,
answer.
I
Oh
did.
my God, let him
You're
answer.
slow, Ty. I've already jumped to another point. But yeah, you need to ask why are they on Medicaid to begin with? Is it because
Because they're ill. You can ask Stephen. Because they're
well,
ill. They can't
But
work. They're sick.
there are people that are on it that don't belong on it.
We're not
They-
talking
they-
about those people. We're talking about people
but
who are going to suffer who need it.
well,
People
so
that are going to
there's
suffer that need it and
provisions
not
at
going
the
to be
state
kicked off.
level. Then you can have provisions at the state level to accommodate that, right? So it's more localized. The idea is that hey, we're taking the federal government out and forcing the state to take responsibility for that. And
Just
so
like abortion.
Okay,
just
shut up.
so if I'm in Virginia, I would, as a Virginian, I'm gonna be more involved with my local politics to determine what that
Oh my
funding's gonna look
God.
like. I'm gonna
Yeah.
determine what the tax level. Maybe they put a sales tax in place. Maybe they tax a lot of these data centers that are going up every year,
Okay.
right?
All
So
right.
there's ways that you're localizing the government. I'm not saying it's a great idea, but it could possibly work.
It
And
can.
by the way,
Right.
and this is where it gets very interesting because remember I came on this show and I was always against tariffs. I don't think tariffs are a good idea. But if Trump is saying, hey, by the way, I'm gonna pull back all this, I'm gonna streamline the tax code, I'm gonna drop your taxes.
He's not streamlining the
and I'm gonna
tax
pay
code.
Finish.
for it,
I'm going to hear his point.
and I'm gonna pay for it by tariffs, by using strategic tariffs to do that. That's not necessarily a bad idea.
Okay,
Right.
well, he's not saying that. You just made that up. Crazy.
No, he
That's
is.
what he's saying.
That's what
didn't
he's
say
saying.
And
he's
you've been
gonna-
watching that's kind of what he's saying with all this.
Look,
right?
kind of.
So-
Now he's okay.
No,
tell
I'm
me
not.
when
They-
it's my turn to speak.
They don't tell him
Stacey.
that on The View. They don't tell him that on The View.
Look.
Sum it up, Aguna, please.
I am the voice of reason on this show for a reason.
You're not.
You know,
You're ridiculous. You sound
I'm very
ridiculous.
critical. I've been on here arguing up and down with Stephen when it comes to Trump and what he's doing and all this other stuff and how I think it's a bad idea. But if you look at what he's doing, it may work because look at the market right now.
It is working.
Look, he's saying, hey, I'm going to lower your taxes. I'm going to incentivize corporations to spend more and invest more. Oh, by the way, I'm going to increase tariffs on these other countries.
Oh,
by
stop
the
it
way,
with the tariffs crap.
So you like
He's
tariffs
supposed to
now,
be
don't
making
you?
deals.
You like tariffs.
There's
I
not
like
one deal that's
I don't
been
necessarily
made.
like them. I still don't like them. All right.
I like
don't
tariffs.
them, but if
I like them better than paying taxes.
if they're eating tariffs, see, here's the thing. The one thing tariffs do that income taxes don't is give you the decision to what you want to spend money on.
And
If
Stacey
they
is letting
increase,
him
if
go
they
on
increase
and
money on
on. So
You're
wait till
right.
it's
You're
my
right.
turn.
And that's a good thing, right? That's good.
that is a good thing because if he increases tariffs on rice from Japan, for example,
Oh my
I can
God.
decide not to buy rice from Japan at the supermarket. It's my
We'll eat
choice. I can
potatoes.
keep that
We'll
money.
eat meat and potatoes.
I can
Okay,
buy.
thank
I
you.
can get rice
Thank
from
you,
the
Guna.
U.S.
Let me bring
So
Todd
that's
in.
what I'm saying. So
Right.
even though I don't like tariffs per se, because if for things that things that we can't make cheaper in America, it's going to impact those products.
I think
But
at the
I
end
can
of the
choose
day,
as
you're going to like
As an American,
tariffs.
I can share. I can choose not to.
Okay,
At the end of the day, you're going to like tariffs.
Cousin Todd.
You allowed Aguna to go on for a half an hour. The show is going to be over in another 7 minutes.
Well, you know,
And-
it's funny how Todd blames me when
Yes,
he's mad at somebody
because
You're mad at
you
Aguna.
because
He made
what-
points that you didn't want to
Shut
hear.
up.
That's why you think he talked too long.
Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
Keep them quiet. This is the thing. Whenever I say 3 words, okay, wrap it up but he went on.
You're wasting your
and
time now.
on.
Yeah, you just jibber jabber. You're not
You
succinct
see-
like
and see
Aguna.
how
You
they're
jibber
still talking?
jabber.
Mute
We haven't
them.
gotten into the
Get
details
them
of the
off
bill.
the
This is
show.
just the
Mute
tax
them.
portion. We haven't
Get
gotten
them
into the
off-
other stuff.
Mute them or dismiss them from the show.
Go ahead,
So,
Cousin Todd.
like I was saying, Aguna doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just flip-flopping. All of a sudden, he loves Donald Trump because terrorists might be good, but
It's
might
not
be
about
bad.
Trump.
But
I
it
don't
might
like
be
taxes.
good.
I have
Shut
reasons
up.
to not like taxes
Why is he still talking?
because it's not about Trump. If Trump's decreasing my
Because you
taxes,
keep bringing up his name. Stop
I-
bringing up his name.
I can bring up anything I want. He's got to learn how to control himself, like he said about Stephen. So now,
we don't need to spend federal money.
He-
The federal government does.
why is
about
he?
money.
Get him off of this show. Why is he here?
Okay, all right. Go ahead,
So-
Huggy Bear. Go ahead, Huggy Bear.
I think
You
Huggy
won't-
Bear's done. Hey,
Well,
Keith is
look.
back. Let's hear from Keith.
You see
How about that,
this?
Stacy?
Go ahead, Cousin Todd has to finish his point. Finish your point, Cousin.
I thought he was done 5 minutes ago.
You have no control of this show.
He hasn't said nothing
So-
in 5
blame
minutes,
me.
Stacy.
Don't
You
blame
have no
him off.
control.
Make your point.
Cut him
You
off.
have no control. You won't mute them. You should have exited them from the show.
Go ahead, Cousin Todd.
Stop attacking her.
Todd's gone.
All right.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
Lord.
So, my question to you, Keith, let me show you because I don't think you saw the clip, but let me show you the clip from what Governor Shapiro said.
Food assistance benefits. And the U.S. Senator voted for, knowing what they were voting for. 310,000 Pennsylvanians are going to be kicked off of Medicaid. 140,000 Pennsylvanians are about to lose their SNAP benefits. That's the food assistance benefits. And we have about 25 rural hospitals that are both working with an operating deficit, where about 50% or more of their revenues are coming from public payer, right? Coming from Medicaid. And so if you're already facing a deficit and your Medicaid is being slashed, we estimate that there's about 25 rural hospitals that are likely to shutter in the next few years because of this. Here in York County, just to put a finer point on it, 9,762 York Countyans are about to lose their Medicaid because of this vote, and about $11 million is going to be ripped away from SNAP just here in York County. So I want you to know what they voted for, okay? They voted to give a tax cut to those at the highest income brackets who frankly don't need it, and to pay for it by slashing Medicaid and SNAP and harming rural hospitals. This isn't politics. This isn't hyperbole. They knew what they were voting for. They voted for it. It's now law in Pennsylvania. As to the second part of your question, let me be very clear. Pennsylvania can't backfill this. We don't have the money to do it. I warned these members of Congress that we couldn't do it. And so the cuts that are about to come are coming as a direct result of how your federal representatives voted here.
Okay, so my question to you, Keith, is what type of provisions did the federal government, specifically the Republican-led Senate and the Republican-led House of Representatives, what type of provisions in terms of health care insurance and SNAP benefits did they make for people who are going to lose them based on the fact that they pass this bill into law?
Well, first of all, let me start with the Constitution. Constitution does not allow or does not say that the federal government is responsible for Medicaid and Medicare, all of these social food programs. What is the people who are responsible for that are local government. So local government is going to have to is going to have to watch its spending, like Pennsylvania. So I think that that's number one. Number two, the representatives of the House, I think that it's already been stated to some degree that the tariffs have caused $88 billion, $88 billion and more to come in as a result.
I can't stop coughing.
So since that happens, if that happens, then yes, they can put some of that towards the deficit or the debt. And so that will take care of that. And that's why it's as simple as that. What do we do in our household? Like Aguna, myself, you, Stephen, what happens when the economy goes up? When we go into a recession, what do the people do? We tighten our belts. We watch our spending. We look for cheaper deals. We look for coupons. I mean, why do we always have to make the adjustments? And the federal government is not responsible for local, social programs.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Now, you are a man of God, right?
Yes.
Do you remember what the book of Micah it was about?
Tell me.
The book of Micah is the 6th of the 12 minor prophets of the Hebrew Bible, and it basically conveyed a message of judgment and hope. It warned about impending judgment upon Israel and Judah for treating their downtrodden, treating their poor really badly.
So how is it treating the poor? How is it treating the poor bad?
Particularly in social injustice and idolatry. So God allowed their enemies basically to come in and rule over them and take their things because they had treated their poor really badly. So my point to that, for you being a Christian man who knows the Bible pretty well, is that and you have a group of people that do things that do injustices to those that are struggling or that have less than those that are rich. Don't you like they possibly are doing when they cancel or stop their Medicaid and their SNAP food supplements and things like that, and they don't have, and there isn't anything, whether the federal government does it, whether the state government does it, the point is there's no provisions for these people to get the care they need. They're mistreating God's children. And when they do that, won't they be punished for it?
Well, the leaders will be punished for not following the Constitution. And that's
who
what
will
God,
be punished for not following the Constitution?
Yeah, because the Constitution is,
Who?
I said the leaders, those who are sworn to God, those who have laid their hand on the Bible and said, I will uphold and protect the Constitution, will pay a price if they do not follow its laws. And that is what God holds them accountable to. See, because they will not do what the Constitution is saying that they ought to do. And see, that is the local government.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
You answered that. I appreciate that. No,
Yeah.
you answered it. I can't have you go on.
The poor people are still being taken care of, Stacey. That's the point. They're still being taken care of. The people who are not deserving of these benefits should not get these benefits. That's all they're doing. They're cleaning up the rolls. That's what they're doing. So the poorest of the people are getting help federally, which they don't have to. That's not in the Bible. They're getting help federal money. They're getting help state money. They're getting help county money. All of them are.
Well,
So
look at
it's
all
not
the
up,
people that-
but it's not up to your government. In the Bible, it's not up for the government to do it. It's to your church, to your families, to your people to take care of people. But
And
we
look at
do
all-
take care of our people. But illegal people should not be on our rolls, and
Right.
people who are able-bodied should not be on our rolls. That's what it's all about, Stacey. It's not about
look at
trying
all
to
the
hurt
people that
anybody.
help.
It's not
Okay,
about
one
trying to hurt the
more
least of
comment from
these.
Aguna, and I got to move on because we're out of time. Aguna.
Well, time is going to tell, but what this does is it localizes decision making. To Keith's point, at the state government. I mean, the governor came on and said, he said that we're not going to pay for it. So they're making a conscious decision of not doing it because they're not getting the federal dollars. Now, can they do it? They could probably figure out some ways to fund it. I mean, they can sell state bonds, they can sell state assets, they can privatize certain things, they can partner public partnerships with some of these local hospitals, which may end up happening. But again, part of this is, why should people in Virginia subsidize Medicaid in Pennsylvania and other places? So what's going to happen is, again, a lot of these rural areas voted for Trump. So they knew what they were doing, all right? And so California pays a lot for Mississippi, right, when it comes to the federal dollars. So when the federal dollars goes away, it forces those state and local governments to make the cuts and to make those tough decisions at the state and local level. Now, they may raise taxes, which means you can move to another state where your taxes are low. It gives you as a consumer or resident the choice of where to live and what to do, and you're
It's not
closer
that
to the
easy,
state government.
Aguna.
It's not that easy, but that's where we're going. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I mean, again, this is what's happening because the government's getting out the way. They're streamlining the tax code. To Keith's point about tariffs, which I still do not like tariffs, but so far they haven't necessarily trickled down to the consumer yet in certain markets. But when they do, you can decide what to buy. Now, the one thing that we can't do, and I think it's a false narrative that part of it is, Keith mentioned, when we're in a recession as me and you and as a citizen, we cut back on spending. The government can't necessarily do that because there's a lot of things that the government does that aren't revenue generating, such as the military, such as some of the social programs like the interstate highway, all these things. There are things that the federal government does from an infrastructure standpoint. Who pays for highways? How do you pay for highways? That's part of that was part of the Defense Spending Act when they came up with the Eisenhower interstate system. But there's certain things like the fire department and certain things that aren't revenue generating that the federal government has to subsidize. So they can't necessarily cut like we can cut as individuals, but they can cut some of the bigger things, right? And they can push it down to the states to decide if they want to raise property taxes, if they want to. That's at the state and local level, right? Which is what's happening under the Trump administration. They're basically rolling back the powers of the federal government, and a lot of these hospitals that they're talking about are going to be privatized or incentive. I mean, you're going to have private companies come in there and take it over, and maybe they'll run them more efficiently and things like that. So this is what's going to happen inevitably is going to be there's going to be a wealth gap, right? And again, the governor is not saying why are these people on Medicaid to begin with, right? If they're because they're sick, there's probably a small portion of that population that's being subsidized that they could probably make provisions for. And then if there's incentive, like you're taking away tax on tips, you're doing a lot of things in that bill that ideally is going to grow that middle class. That's the idea. Let's see if that's going to happen. But part of it is trying to move people away from the federal government and move it on to the states if the states want to take it on. Otherwise, you're going to have to make some tough decisions to cut more.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to the ruling of the Supreme Court today. Watch this.
Some breaking news from Washington. The Supreme Court says the Trump administration can carry out its plans to significantly downsize the federal workforce. More than a dozen unions, nonprofits, and local governments had sued, and a lower court had blocked the president from making those changes to federal agencies without congressional approval. But the Supreme Court says the lower court order stopped plans based on the administration's general plans and not on specific plans for agencies. It says it couldn't comment on the legality of those specific plans, but in general, it does believe that the executive order likely is legal. It was an unsigned order from the justices. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented.
All right.
All right. So let me share this screen. And then this is our roundtable. So we'll start with Keith and Stephen Aguna, and then Cousin Todd, if he returns.
That Todd gonna run off the show.
The Supreme Court today backed President Donald Trump's effort to carry out mass firings and reorganizations at federal agency, putting on hold a lower court order that had temporarily blocked the president from taking those steps without approval from Congress. What does that mean for those people who will lose their jobs? Keith?
I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
You're going in and out.
Oh man, I tell you, all right.
Can't hear you. Thank you. We'll go with Stephen.
Well, what they're cutting out is the redundancy in government and a lot of waste, a lot of fraud. They're kind of, this is a basic theme you got to watch with this group that's in office now. They're being fiscally responsible, and that's a good thing. And Aguna likes it. I like it. Keith likes it. We all like it because we're fiscal conservatives. It's good. The federal government spends way too much. Plus, this bill, of course, it spends way too much money. But with the tariffs and other things that are coming around in the business, we're going to come in this country. We're going to be booming. This is the best thing that America has going for it right now. And the fact that we can cut the fat from different sectors and different parts of our country and make it more streamlined and make it make more sense, like any business. We have a businessman basically running the country right now, Donald Trump. And if we can make everything make sense, then that's great. We don't need a $5,000 hammer or a $10,000 toilet seat. We're taking that stuff out. For the first time in my entire life, we're trying to do things right and streamline and not be so wasteful. So we can all have a better life, the ones that are actually producing and making the country great.
Thank you. Aguna.
Yeah, I mean, so there's layers to this, right? So I can appreciate the cutting of waste, just how you do it, right, and what you're doing it for, and what agency. So it'd be good to get some transparency there. I know they do have some visibility into what they're doing to a certain degree, but just the across the board slash is kind of, I mean, it's a little dangerous. The only thing I don't like about it is the executive order aspect of it. I know in the past Congress has been slow to act, and there's been a lot of bipartisanship, but technically, if these agencies are funded and these workforces are funded from a constitutional perspective, you should allow Congress to do their job and determine. I mean, they could have easily, you have the majority and just do it through Congress. You don't necessarily have to do it through executive order unless there's specific things that that they are deeming waste, fraud, and abuse or whatever, right? So, I mean, again, I appreciate the cutting of waste. That's fine. But I don't want it to be just the publicity stunt and just the across the board cut if we're just cutting agencies just because and not, really looking at the impact. And not all federal employees are like these lazy, not doing anything employees.
No, we know that.
Part of it is like, let's be. But at the same time, there are a lot of agencies that that are redundant and you can cut, and it's hard. And see, the problem is because Congress hasn't done its job for so long. Sometimes while you have the power and you have the power of the pen, you got it. I mean, from an administration point, I get why they're doing it because, there's going to be no other time that they're going to be able to do it, because at the same time, you don't know what's going to happen in the midterms. And, Congress is, again, slow to act. And now you have these lower court judges blocking things. So it's like it's like the executive office has to act in order to get things done for their agenda, whether you like their agenda or not. The one thing I can appreciate about this administration is they're getting things done. I mean, unfortunately, whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump, he's getting things done. He's got everybody in line. These people are moving. I mean, government is working. They're trying to work for you, But I will say this in my roundtable. This is the last part of it. Here comes Todd. I said that on purpose to bring Todd back. Before you make right, wrong, or anything you want to say about this administration, every American should go out and start their own business. I don't care what type of business it is. I don't care if it's a book writing, book binding. This bill, the bill that they just passed, it incentivizes entrepreneurship for every American. Every
Yes, sir.
American can
Is he
own
still
a job.
talking?
Yes, sir.
Every
Because
American
he,
can
long
own
does
your
he
own
get
he
to go
he's
on
speaking
and
the
on?
truth,
So
man. He's speaking the truth.
at
Keep on
no
talking,
other
Aguna.
time,
Take
at
us
no
out,
other time
Aguna.
in this
Take us
country
out, brother.
is it good time to start your own business. You can write off. You buy a new car, you can write off the interest on your car. You can write if you're a small business, 20% of your earnings can be written off. So you make
Yep.
$100,000 as a small business, you're only getting taxed on 80. So it's like,
Okay.
and the
We
funny thing
have
about
gone
all this,
over.
the
It's
funny thing
past
about all
9
this,
o'clock, so I
all
don't
of
have
this
time to
kicks
do a
in.
round table now.
All of this
So
kicks in after the midterm. So it's like,
Okay, go ahead, cousin
it's
Todd.
kind of a mad
oh
genius
no
to
no.
say, hey, if going into the
Yeah.
midterms, if you want all these things to stay permanent, you got to keep the Republicans in power. I mean, it's very strategic and smart if you ask me. But anyway,
Okay, thank
go
you.
ahead.
Very
Sorry,
strategic.
Todd.
Very nice.
No, it's after 9 o'clock. It's no way I'm going. It's after 9
You
o'clock,
What are you
and
going
you
to turn into
allowed
a
him to
pumpkin?
go
You going
on
to turn
and
into a
on.
pumpkin?
I'm not staying here for this. This is just
Well,
beyond
hey,
stupid.
hey, Todd, what do you think about,
No,
what do y'all think about,
nobody's
what do y'all think
jealous.
about
Nobody's
Epstein?
fighting. We're having a
Hey,
sensible conversation, and Todd
All
just
right,
Aguna, what do you think about Epstein and that being closed now?
that I don't know, man. I think that's a little
I
bit of cover
know.
up.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And then,
and Elon
but
don't like
also
it
this,
either.
so excuse
they're
me.
sending, Trump
Wait a
is
minute.
sending
Let me close out.
sending arms.
Let me close out, and at the end, you guys can talk that. To our first responders in our communities, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do and sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on the show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the voice of reason, Stephen, the independent thinker, Keith, the constitutional conservative, and my cousin Todd, who looks like he left.
Huggy bear, Huggy bear.
I'm Stacey Johnson. This conversation going on X, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram. Check us out at Sporlitiks.com on TikTok and also at YouTube. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Sporlitiks. Great to have you back, Aguna. We'll see you next week. Good night.
What is wrong with Todd? What is wrong with Todd? Todd
I don't
just got
know.
on here. I can't. I just can't. I don't know why. Oh my
Die-hard
God.
Marxist. He's a
I'm
die-hard
not.
progressive. He's a die-hard progressive Marxist.
He's going through menopause, I think.
Oh, he's a
Look,
die-hard. Oh, can I say something else, Stacey, real quickly? Guna, as a Christian, I didn't say this on the show, not enough time, but I want to say it to you guys. As a Christian, God teaches us not to be dependent on government, period, even for our health. So I just wanted to point that out.
Right on, Keith.
He said
Right on.
we be dependent on God. He provides
Yep.
all our needs according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. And that's by
Right
faith.
on. God wouldn't prefer you to steal from somebody to give to somebody else, and taxation is theft.
Good night.
Good night,
And Aguna, you're
Stacey.
going to benefit. Aguna, you and your family will prosper even more on these tax
Yeah,
cuts.
that's why he's so excited, man. Hey, that's why he's back. He's happy, man.
Child credit.
Good night.